Hey, what's up world? It's your girl Elle, coming at you from the Bay Area, California. I am posting this video, which is something outside of my box, because one, I hired a coach and this is part of his program, and two, because I think it's about time that I really share my story with y'all, because I know that a lot of you have been following me on social media and in my life, seeing the things that I've been doing for the last 6 years, and a lot of you have been really supportive, and I want to thank you for that. But I want people to know the real reason why I do the things I do, why I spend so much time and effort and money on making sure that I stay fit and that I feel good. And it's really because for a very long time I didn't feel good. For a very long time, I think starting since I was little, I didn't feel good about my body. And as a 30-year-old now, looking at myself and my younger self, I realized that it was not my fault that I couldn't look in the mirror and really appreciate what I saw. It wasn't my fault, and that I was really influenced by what was around me. And what was around me was a lot of print media and TV entertainment that showed me white faces and white bodies and told me that that was what beauty was supposed to be. And so it took a very long time for me to get out of that mindset. I did everything that I could to be white. Like, I tried skin whitener, I straightened my hair, I hung out with a lot of white friends in high school, and you know, it wasn't until I started like really becoming aware of my Filipino-ness, of my brownness, that I started to feel good in my body again. That started, and I think a lot of women might feel that, but that really isn't why I started working out. I mean, part of it, like I said, was because it was really hard for me to feel good in my body. But when I was an adult, and I think this is true for a lot of women, is that they start their real fitness journeys for one of two reasons. The first reason, of course, is, you know, after long hard years of not being able to like what you see. But the second one really is, I think, heartbreak. So at 24, I was just graduating college, and I was getting out of a relationship that I never should have been in, a relationship that should have ended a lot earlier than it did. And I really lost, if I wasn't lost already, I lost more of myself in that relationship. I was really disconnected to the things that I loved and the things that made me myself. But like I said, luckily I got out of that relationship, and it was probably one of the best things I've ever done for myself. But, you know, like every other woman, what do you do after a relationship? So I jumped into the single life. I jumped into drinking and smoking and partying and spending money that I didn't have. And I even tried to join the gym. So the first time I ever joined a gym was a Bally's in Daly City. And I remember 2-3 months into going to that gym, I didn't know how to use a gym at that time. All I knew how to do was run and do cardio, because those are the easiest things to do. They were the most mindless things to do, and they still are. And I remember clearly at that Bally's, a trainer came up to me and was like, "Hey, yo, I see you come into this gym hella much, and you come in and you do the same workouts, and hey, you want to have a training session with me?" And I was like, okay. Okay, sure. So I signed up for a training session with him, and the next day, and I ended up not showing up. I ended up not ever going back to that gym again, because I'm kind of a proud person, and for somebody to find out that I didn't know what I was doing was really embarrassing. And so I ended up quitting that gym and never going back, like I said. And it wasn't till 4 years later that I ever stepped back into any kind of gym. So the real trigger of the bulk of my fitness journey happened in 2011. 2011 was a very hard year for me, and emotionally. 2011 started with me finding out that I was cheated on, that my boyfriend at the time was cheating on me. And if any of y'all have ever been cheated on, you know that it is like a dagger to your soul. Like, betrayal is like one of the biggest things that can wound a human being. And I was furious. I was so furious. I went off my rockers, And beneath all that anger was a lot of sadness and a lot of self-doubt and a lot of self-esteem stuff, because I hadn't emotionally fully recovered from the last relationship. So to have something like that happen again was like devastating. And unfortunately for me, it didn't stop there, because 3 months later, after I found out that the dude was cheating on me, I found out that my best friend was dead. So, well, for a while we thought she was kidnapped, and then a few months later we found out that she was murdered. And so you can only imagine the kind of emotions that I was going through at this time. It was nothing, it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced in my life before. It was so crippling to me that I ended up dropping out of college, or dropping out of grad school, because I was in grad school at the time, dropping out of grad school, quitting my full-time job, and spending most of my days laying in bed crying and reading, you know, the book of living and dying, trying to make sense of what was this all about, why was this happening, and what the hell. So yeah, I spent a lot of time just contemplating life and crying and not living. And it wasn't until the end of that summer that I realized, that I thought to myself, when I was like getting into fights, because I ended up trying to get back with a guy, and I tried to really think about what do I need to do to get all of this anger and all of this sadness and all of this mucky, dirty shit out of me. And the only thing I can think of was I stopped smoking cigarettes, and I started running. And luckily at the time I lived next to Lake Merritt in Oakland, and it's a really beautiful lake, and to be by the water was something that really helped me. But I also started running around the lake, and that lake is about 3 miles around, so it should take like 30 minutes. But I started running, and it took me like a year before I could get around that gym. But the running really helped. The physical exertion of all that energy and the time spent by myself, like not trying to focus on my breathing and focus on my legs moving rather than focus on all this pain, was a good diversion. It culminated to me running a half marathon with a really good friend of mine who was really supportive of me at that time and who was on her own fitness journey. And so we ran a half marathon together, and it was that running half marathon that made me want to do something else, because I hated it. I hated every single minute of it. Every minute of those 3 hours that I was running, I absolutely hated it. The best part was eating afterwards. And so this was, after that half marathon, was when I decided I needed to do something else. And so, still being broke and still being depressed, I decided to purchase this 1-month Groupon at a gym that was in Piedmont, and learned how to pick up my first kettlebell. And I remember going to this gym, and the lady, I had purchased like 6 or 7 sessions, and this woman was teaching me how to do a kettlebell. And the first time she taught me how to grip a kettlebell, she looked at me and she said, "Damn, if you keep doing this, you're gonna get really good." And I clearly remember that, because it was so supportive and it was so kind that somebody who didn't know me, somebody who didn't know what I was going through or what my life was like, could see a potential in me, that could see strength in me. And I think that that's what people need to hear when they're starting their fitness journey. And that's why I'm posting this video, because if there's anybody out there, if there's anybody out there who has been thinking to themselves, hey, I need to do something different. Hey, I need to take care of myself. Hey, something hurts inside of me and nothing else is working, because I went to therapists. I went to see hella white therapists. And it wasn't until I started weightlifting that I learned the real skill about how to get inside my body and how to really pay attention to what my body was telling me. So, like I said, if there's anybody out there who is hearing this, or who knows somebody who needs to hear this, you can do it. You can, no matter where you're from or what you've been through, all you need to do to get to where you want to be is take that first step forward. And I want to be there with you. I want to help you, because I was helped and I was healed. So thank you for listening. Please like or comment if you heard me, felt me, and see me, because I see all of you. Okay, bye.